Hey, you guys. Hello. Happy Thursday. Good to see you. I hope you can see me and give us a shout out where you are. I got to tell you, I had so much fun yesterday on the Scott Kelby show, and we'll put the link in here. But while we're kind of getting ready here, let me show you what we did here. So we had Scott and me, and this is Vanilli from Luminar, and we just had a really good time just talking about creativity. We talked about suggested presents that you guys can grab. He also has a whole list of them. We're going to put this up, but we'll have Jared put the link in there in a minute. And let me find out where you guys are. Give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. So also, it seems to help if you guys put your like there. Oh, he put the link in there. Good. So don't watch it now. Watch it later, okay? Because we got important stuff to do today. So tell me where you are in the world. And we're marching forward into the holidays. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Hey, Sue. Good to see you again. Beautiful work with your doggy pictures, doggos, as Scott calls them. Doggos. River was a guest on our show yesterday with Scott. That was fun. And Monsieur, hello from Brazil. Wow, awesome. And from Grace is in San Francisco, Christopher in New York City. I love your guys' work. It's great to see you and get to know you here. And Myron is in Chicago. David is in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've never been there, but Chattanooga Choo Choo, we know that song. Tennessee is a beautiful. I've been to just into the edge of Tennessee, but I need to do a full trip there someday. Okay, well, I hope you guys are doing well. We are going to be talking about in Tampa. That's where Scott is, Scott is right there in Tampa. He's got a huge studio there. It's really fun to go there. And he's just always fun to hang out with. He's one of my favorite people in the world. He's just full of fun and mischief and joking. And, this world can get really serious. So I always appreciate people who can break that seriousness and make it more fun and interesting. Okay, well, let's just get started. And the first thing I want to remind you guys that we've got our incredible sponsor, Bay Photo Lab. These guys are awesome. They say, let's print something amazing, and that's what I say too. We want you guys to make prints, and you can get 15% off on metal prints. That's good through the 11th, which is just a few days from now. 10% off on your favorite photo gifts. You better order those soon, but you get 10% off. And 25% off on your first order. So head over after the show and order something from Bay Photo Lab. I love these guys, and I really advise you to use them as your printers. They're your go-to folks, right? So make sure you do that. And Scott Kelby is a huge Bay Photo Lab fan. He's got big, huge prints that they made for him in his studio. Okay, first thing we're going to talk about, and during the month of December, the rest of the month of December, we're going to talk about different topics. And this one today, of course, is in my book, Create. If you guys do not own this, I really want you to have it. It's not because I'm just trying to sell a book. I put a lot of time and energy into this book, more than you might realize, and really worked out how to up your creative skills, right? It's there for you to use. And the cool thing about it, and the important thing, is that at the end of every chapter there's workouts, what you need to do to actually improve your creativity. So I'm going to talk about one thing out of this book, and that is how to get inspired. Well, we're going to start here with the Oxford, you can't really see that, look at that. Oxford Dictionary definition of inspire. You know, it's always good. I have this app on my phone, and I'm always looking up words. My dad instilled this in me when I was a kid. He was always sending us to look at the dictionary when we used a word incorrectly, but more importantly, to find its derivation and where does this word came from. Because that's where you get a big insight into our language, you know. And you'll be surprised where the word inspire came from. So first of all, it means to fill someone with the urge or ability to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. Isn't that cool? You get inspired, you get filled with something, the urge to do something, right? And then it's also create a feeling, especially a positive one in a person. You know, you inspire somebody else. I hope I'm doing that for you. That's my goal here. To inspire someone with is to animate someone with that feeling. And then here's what the derivation is. It's from Middle English, Old French, from Latin. Breathe or blow into. Breathe or blow into. It comes from in, into, and spirare, to breathe. The word was originally used as a divine or supernatural being. Get this is important. In the sense of impart a truth or idea to someone. A divine or supernatural being. Well, isn't it true that we look at the great artists as kind of divine, certainly supernatural, certainly superhuman? Why do we go to these museums and see, for instance, the David in Florence? It's unbelievable. You look up at this statue and you just go, how did he do that? Carve that out of just granite, you know? So we go to museums to breathe in, to get that inspiration breathed into us. But you don't have to just go to a museum to get inspired. There's a lot of ways to get inspired. And one of my favorite ways is to pull out my favorite books. This is one of them. Now this is a double inspiration. So this is David Douglas Duncan, who is the photographer. He was a war photographer, World War II, and also covered other subjects, and one of them was Picasso. He actually photographed him over a 25-year period and became his good friend. And when I open this book, I just get inspired by a lot of things. Now that may just look like a bunch of clutter, but here's the artist there. And everything about Picasso was a work of art, everything. He turned everything into art. That's what inspires me more than anything. There's an example in here. I mean, this is his front yard. Okay, so if you can see that, he has a goat. Then he has his own, right here, sculpture of a goat. So his goat is tethered to the sculpture. Again, he was just like everything about this guy. So I'm inspired doubly, but I'm inspired by Picasso, but I'm also inspired by David Douglas Duncan's capturing. Look at that portrait. Not that one, this one. Now that kind of defies all sort of portrait rules. You know, we're cutting off her chin, her forehead, you know. But it's amazing. We just see with her freckles and the look of her face. This is real art here, folks. I pull this out often, but I pull out a lot of other books. And the thing is, you've got to breathe it in. You got to get it inside you to find your creativity, you know, and that's what we do. Every photographer I've ever interviewed mentioned to me that their go-to source of inspiration was looking at other artists. Now here's the cool sequence. Look at this. Talk about finding art in everyday life. So here he is eating a fish. What has he got left? A bunch of bones. What are we likely to do with those bones? Throw them out, get them out of the house so they don't stink up the whole house, right? What does he do? Pablo Picasso. What does he do with that? He goes to his studio. You see this whole cool sequence. First he cleans the bones. Then he makes, see these here? These are clay, like, oh, you can't see that. Anyway, clay replica of a fish. Then he presses the fish bones in there. And then they come out. And then he paints them. And he paints a plate. And he ends up here. Can you see that? Voila. A work of art. So he took something the rest of us would throw away, get out of sight, get out of stinking up your house, and he turns it into art. Now that's just brilliant. That's something we could all learn from. Take those things that maybe potentially have that, it's going to smell up everything, and go for it. Like, one thing I recommend when you're out and about in the world is do what our good friend Leonardo da Vinci advised, which is to look at people, watch their expressions, not just when they're happy and smiling, but when they're mad, when they're sad, when they're bored. What do they look like? Take that all in. Take your little notebook and note that down, or take photographs, because we're trying to capture life, and we want to tell stories about life. And people aren't always best shown with a big smile on their face. Look at Annie Leibovitz. None of her photographs show the subject smiling. She actually never tries to get them to smile. She's just trying to see whatever it is that she can see in that person. We're digging into, we're trying to get beyond this sort of social mask that most of us wear when we go out and talk to people. What's beyond that? So there's another photographer I've been really inspired by, Annie Leibovitz. I'm inspired by almost every great photographer and artist in one way or another. Andy Warhol, just amazing work. I have a book, another book that I love, it's my go-to, is from the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and it's just got a variety of different artists. Many photographers, but all sorts of artists, right, are in that book. So you've heard it from me before. Just remember, you got to breathe this in. And literally when you go, like my art school, the San Francisco Art Institute, you came in on the ground floor and then you go down to the photography department. But on the way to the photography department was the painting department. And you would smell that amazing smell that only comes from that kind of paint. I associate it immediately with that school. And there's the musty smell. It's an old building. There's that kind of musty smell, but then the smell of the paint just permeates that environment. You literally are breathing it in. And this is where you want to get out. You want to get out and breathe life. You don't want to just sit on your computer. You don't want to just think about stuff. This is the other part of it. One day I hope to be doing. Don't do that. Get out there and do it. Make it happen. One of the things I'm working on is a new book. It's not an instructional book. It's my photographs of the area that I live in, Carmel, Big Sur, the Central Coast here, and writings from myself. I've written a lot about this area. Jack London and another great author who lived here, Robertson Jeffers, a wonderful poet. I'm putting that together. I'm hoping to get it done by the spring. We'll see. I'm not in any huge rush. But, that's what's inspired me, is this amazing place that we live. Okay, so if you guys have a question or you want to ask me something about inspiration, whatever, now is your chance. And otherwise, we're going to dive into critiquing here in a minute. So, Jared, are we ready to take a look at some stuff?
Yeah, we are. It's going to be a slightly different format because we had those legendary gremlins
We had some
get into
gremlins.
my computer, but thankfully I have a second computer on standby,
There we
so
are.
things will just look a little bit different. Are we on my screen now? I can't quite. All
Yeah, before we
right.
do that, I want to remind you guys, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe so you don't miss our shows. We're going to be doing a lot of really cool shows. So, and tell your friends, bring them along, okay?
Oh, and hit that like button. They
Hit
added a
that
new
like.
fun little animation. Like,
Oh, they
you want to
did?
see that cool
Oh,
animation.
that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All
So,
right.
what are we looking at here?
All right. First, we got one from Grace, our good friend Grace.
Grace in
This
San Francisco.
at the Spire.
Where
So
is
here's
this?
a close up. So it's at Goldworthy's Spire
I don't even know
in
where that
San
is. I should.
Francisco.
It's in San Francisco?
Yeah, apparently.
How do I not know about
Um,
this?
yeah. So I guess it's maybe an outdoor exhibit or of some kind.
Yeah,
But
that's
here's
pretty
some photos
cool.
that Grace took.
And there's a series there, Jared, or
It's just these two.
oh,
So the
okay.
closed one and then this one.
Okay. Well, that's a interesting sculpture somebody put together out of really cool wood. I love that. The photograph itself is just to me a documentary shot. Uh, doesn't inspire me because it gets me interested, but there's something missing in what is this thing? Which okay, that's fine, but I could give you suggestions. I think it might be more interesting as a black and white.
Hmm.
It's pretty, except for the blue in the sky, there's really no other color. My go-to thing about black and white is if there's no important color, I'm gonna go black and white. If there's something really important in the color, then I leave the color in. But I think that would be one suggestion because you're going to have some interesting contrast between the texture of the wood and the clouds there. But something else really needs to happen here. And that's where, a bird flying along could be really cool. Sometimes you got to just wait until that happens. We're not going to see a person. We might see a plane. We might see some other object in the sky, a UFO. Who knows? Um, but those are my suggestions. You have reported on this. And if it's part of a story, like Dan Milner calls these transitional photographs, if it's part of a story, okay, good. Maybe the story involves something that's happening, if that's in Golden Gate Park, something else is happening nearby or whatever. But
It's in
just
the Presidio, apparently.
in the Presidio, great place, really fun place. That's where the Industrial Light and Magic studio is, which is,
Mm,
of course, George Lucas's cool
big fan.
stuff. I've been there. You get to see all sorts of neat things there. But he grabbed that when the Presidio was no longer a military base. He grabbed a huge chunk of it for the Industrial Light and Magic studio. Anyway, talk about inspiration. You, if you ever are around, go check it out. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's move on.
All right. And before we move on, David has a question about inspiration.
Okay, what camera
Um,
do you use currently?
yeah, he wants to know what camera you use currently, and does capturing photos with film give you more inspiration?
David, I'm embarrassed to say I don't really capture too much on film anymore, although I am planning to get out with my Hasselblad on my, basically putting my photographs together for Carmel and Big Sur. So I don't have an answer for you. It doesn't inspire me any more than it. To me, a camera is a tool. I can photograph with any camera. It doesn't. I don't. I personally get inspired by a camera unless it has something interesting, some feature which I rarely worry about. The camera is a tool. I can use my iPhone. I can use a Sony. I can use a Canon. I could use a Nikon. I can use Hasselblad, you know, it's not a source of inspiration. What does inspire me is what I was just talking about. Breathing in, going to that environment, breathing in, get up early. I missed a photo opportunity the other day. Okay, I was up early. I generally get up around 6 a.m., so before it's light. And the light, as the sun came up, the clouds started like turning really cool colors. And I could see from my house that down the coast there were some really cool clouds because there had actually been a thunderstorm in the middle of the night. I have this weather notification thing that if any major weather event is happening, it notifies me. And I woke up to find that at 4:30 in the morning there had been a thunderstorm. And I thought, wow, I should go south and photograph those clouds. But I didn't want to do it right then. I thought I'll do it later in the day. Well, later in the day, those clouds had all moved away. So don't do that. You see something, go out and shoot right away. Okay, so, oh, good. And
Yeah.
Andrew said, thanks for the Bay photo book. A while back, came out great. Would you please send us some copies?
He actually did, and I'll
Oh, good.
bring those up. We'll take a look at those.
Because I want to
He
send
put
those
them-
to Bay actually as well. Okay, cool. So what have we got here?
We got from Moser, a boy resting after a day at the beach in Brazil.
Wow. Is that a film shot?
That's a good question. I know you're in the chat, Moser, so would love to, if you have any additional details you want to bring out. Or...
I'm just thinking because of his skin color that it looks like film to me. Because that's, it looks like how film would treat that. That's an interesting angle. I probably would say shallower depth of field because I don't really need to see all that stuff in the background. Yeah. I mean, to me, the shot is the geometry of the boy against the rock is what makes that really interesting. So I would lose all the background. You can do that in post-processing. You could put a mask there. I mean, okay, well, I'm not the purest of pure. Who says we have to be? But I'd rather do it in the camera and go, you visualize it, and that's where you go, okay, so that is a Motorola cell phone. Wow, interesting. Okay.
Impressive.
You can post, do that in post since we don't have a lot of control of aperture in these phones. But that would be my suggestion. Lose the background. Let's just let our eye go to the boy and the curvature, the geometry on that. I would encourage you to do that and repost it and let's take a look.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Our next photo this is from our good friend Christopher. Camel driver takes refuge against the wind and piercing sands in Jordan.
And he's still able to smoke a cigarette in spite of the winds and sand. That's kind of amazing. That makes that a really interesting photograph. This, there's a lot of good things about this. The tracks, it's an interesting sort of reverse leading line thing. Instead of leading your eye towards something, those tracks are kind of leading you back to the camel. And we've got geometry here in the pyramid, or not the pyramids, the mountains. The sunburst is interesting. It may just be how it's coming through, but I would bring the shadows up a little bit. It's a little on the dark side, but again, I don't know what it looks like on your screen. It's probably different than what I'm seeing. But that'd be my only thing is, my two kind of almost every shot kind of tweaks that I do when I'm processing is I generally bring the highlights down and almost always bring the shadows up to some degree. But I just feel like a little more oomph on the shadows. But again, I don't know. I can't tell. Okay, cool. Wonderful.
Yeah.
keep going, Christopher.
Let's see. We've got this one. This is from Patrick, posting for critique. A beautiful aigrette on the hunt for dinner. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, it's egrets are really cool birds. They have this beautiful wingspan. Um, yeah, I like I love the reflection. I'm a big fan of reflection. So you got a lot of reflection there. I'm going to give you the same comment. I would lose a lot of that background. Yep, shallow depth of field. Just think about it. Does it help you tell the story, or does it kind of pull your eye away? Think about it in music, right? If we've got a solo going on, a guitar solo or drum solo or violin or trumpet or whatever, what does the rest of the band do, right? They kind of pull back to let that solo really come through. Well, the solo in this case is the egret. Yeah, let's not compete with the rest of the stuff behind it, because that's just like in music. We want to hear that solo, that guitar solo or harmonica solo. So let it come through, and let that background go back. Let it go back. And the way to do that is to dial your aperture down to like 2.8, or open it up really. And if you can't do that while you're shooting for some reason, do it in your post. That's just my recommendation. Okay.
All right. All right, here's a couple of images, reflections. So here's a reflection shot.
Nice.
And then we got a nice one. This one was taken from a plane. Interesting cloud formation from the plane. And then tsunami of clouds. Nothing to worry.
Let's go back to the first one that you showed. We'll just kind of stick with that. Reflection is awesome. Look at how still that water is. Is that a long exposure that's giving it that still look? I'm kind of guessing. And then clouds. I love clouds. We were, like I said, we were after I saw those beautiful clouds, then we were driving south. It was blue skies, and the clouds had moved away. Nothing interesting about blue skies, really. It's not a photographer's dream at all. So you want these big, moody clouds and that feeling of like darkness and all that stuff. So that's very cool. There is a little punctuation point for me anyway. It's just right below the building there. You can see a kind of a dot. Go to the right. Right. A little farther. Right there. Yep. That to me draws my eye right to that point, because there's a reflection, and I go, ooh, there's something about that little punctuation point. So good overall. And I believe that your choice of black and white definitely adds to this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, that's your choice, color, black and white. All these things are all about, how do I best tell this story? Remember, and you'll read about this in my books, like you're trying to convey to your viewer what you saw and felt. Like that's your job as a visual storyteller. What am I feeling here? Edward Weston said composition is the strongest way of seeing. How do we see this thing in the strongest way possible? Strength. What do we strengthen? That's what we're doing here. Okay, we've got time for a couple more here.
All right, this one's from Amir. This one was taken in Belgium.
That's very cool. The leading lines, just incredible, and of course being framed by the trees. I can't tell. I mean, to me it's on the dark side, but again, we're coming through a couple of layers here of computer stuff. But, just so it may need to have the shadows brought up. I can't see the original photograph, but just from what I see, I would bring the shadows up. I love the reflection on the road. Um, and it's got a little punctuation point at the end. There's that, yeah, right there. Yeah, kind of draws your eye. Boom. Very cool. I like that. It's a good one.
All right. We've got this one from Olafur. Sunset in Iceland.
Wow. That's a big set. I don't, it's cool because I don't really think of Iceland as having multi-story buildings. Having not been there, I don't, I think of huts and smaller buildings and that, not huts, but smaller buildings, houses. But this looks like, you're in a city, you're obviously in a well-developed city. And it's interesting as far as the sun, the glow, and that sort of thing. I find this as a reporting photograph. Again, it's to me, it's just part of a story. It's a sequence maybe of what you're shooting in Iceland, and for that purpose, it does serve a purpose. It can help fill in the rest of the story. And those are fine. They definitely have value, and you need them in a work that's reportage. But as a standalone, like, fine art piece, that wouldn't make it, right? But that's okay. Different photographs have different purposes, and that's something to keep in mind. What's the purpose of this photograph? What am I doing with it? Where is it going to go? Is it going to be, one of the photographs in a book with a sequence? Do I want to put it on the wall as its own standalone with no other photographs around it that are part of that? And as long as you know, that's fine. But don't do it without knowing that. One of the things we want to get away from as photographers is doing things automatically. And I don't mean just automatic shooting, with your camera, which of course I don't recommend, but I don't also recommend shooting on manual. I shoot in aperture priority. Why not? Because that's what I'm most concerned about, and I can always adjust the shutter speed and the ISO and everything else. But my main concentration is on what is that aperture doing, so that's why I'm shooting in aperture mode. Most pro photographers I know also say that. None of them shoot in manual that I'm aware of. Why? It's just more fiddling around with knobs instead of what am I here to do? That's one of my biggest, there's these myths that float around on the internet. Like, one of them is, oh, you should shoot and learn to shoot in manual. Why? What, whose idea is that? It's not the pros, I can tell you. The other one is, don't ever use zoom lenses, only prime lenses. Why? Zoom lenses in today's world are just as sharp as prime lenses. And when you're messing around with prime lenses, you're missing photographs, you're fiddling with your camera, you're letting dust into your sensor.
Mm-hmm.
What's the big advantage of, it's like, huh? See, those are myths that are generated by people who are not professional photographers. And there's plenty of people that come up with these things just to sound cool. Okay, what's cool about it? Carrying around a whole bunch of lenses you got to fiddle with? That's cool. Okay, that's my rant for this morning. Make it where you're the least distracted by your camera as possible. Bob Holmes says cameras get in the way of your photography. He's absolutely right. Get the distraction out of the way. Make it as simple as possible. But I started this by saying get off automatic, and I really mean your eye. Don't automatically just go, okay, I'm going to shoot this. Think about what the purpose of this is and go for that. Okay, enough ranting. Don't get me started. Maybe we should do a show just on some of my rants. You guys haven't heard me rant enough. Okay, what else we got? I saw a picture of me.
I think that's all for the ones, because this was the one that I...
Okay, I like that photograph. That was... let's critique that photograph.
Yeah.
This is from Bob Holmes. This is from our class that we did on assignment with Bob Holmes. I'm wearing the same shirt I'm wearing today. How about that? It's one of my favorite shirts.
It's a good one.
Yeah, now look what he did here. So he's got the background disappearing because he's got a shallower depth of field. The light is exquisite. It's coming in from a doorway. You can see to the right where the barrel's lit up on the right. If you put your cursor over that.
Sorry.
Yeah. So right on the very far right. Yeah, there we go. That's where the light is coming from. And it's not quite Vermeer lighting, but it is actually pretty dang close. And I don't remember what I was doing, why I was smiling like that. He didn't pose.
I think he had you pose for that one.
Maybe he did. It's in the film. So anyway, this is you gotta. If you guys haven't watched that class with Bob, you gotta see it. It's so good. It's so good. Where else are you gonna find a day or 2 days actually with a National Geographic photographer on assignment? The real deal here. And that's Bob Holmes. Okay. Well, we got.
As a quick note, I remember now why you're smiling, because Bob is a very funny person, and he is telling a joke to get you to smile. And that's another bonus of the course, is that it's 2 days and it's like unedited, for the most part. Like you get to see a lot of Bob Holmes humor.
I don't remember if we put this in there, but there's a sequence where he's flirting with the model. And
I believe it is in there a little bit, yeah.
I found him in one of these areas. He's a very funny guy, and he has this wonderful British humor. And it's often off color, which you wouldn't necessarily expect from this rather dignified English chap, but really, don't let that fool you. He's a man of life and living, and he has such great stories. All right, well, I think that's it, right?
You want to pull over to your camera for a moment, and I can grab Andrew's.
I'm here. I'm back. Notice I'm wearing that same shirt. It's one of my favorite go-to shirts. So I want to hear about you guys. One thing I would really like to encourage is more dialogue between us. Like, if I were teaching you guys and we were in a class, we would be right here and I'd be calling on you. I go, Christopher, what do you think about this? And Moser, what about that? And Andrew, what do you think? And Sue, that's how I teach classes. I mean, I want dialogue. I don't want it to be, I get tired of my own words coming out of my mouth. I want to hear from you. Also, I want to know if what I've said makes sense or not. Does it really? I mean, if you don't agree with it, shout. Let me know. You got a mouth? Use it. Nobody has to agree with your critiques. Remember that. That's actually an important lesson. Okay? Don't just think, oh, they said this, I got to go off and do that. No, it's up to you as the artist whether you want to do anything about it or not. Imagine if somebody critiqued Picasso when he was getting into his... Really, the genre is classified as Picasso. I mean, he could paint in any style. And then he developed, what we think of as his Picasso style. So what if he was in art school and somebody said, oh, those are no good. Those paintings are no good because they're not realistic and nobody's face looks like that with a nose coming out of the side of his face, or this kind of thing, that doesn't really look like a real lobster or what, I know exactly what he would just swear in French and get the person out of there. Okay, are you ready, Jared?
Yep, if you want to bring it up. We've got
not that screen. Here we go. Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, so this is the book. So Andrew wrote, I was the winner of the free book here on Bay Photo from a recent live stream, so I thought it was only fitting to share the results here. I made an album with some photos from a Civil War reenactment in Resaca, Georgia.
Okay.
I attended some time back. The book was easy to make through the Bay Photo site, and there were lots of nice options for the cover and page layouts. This is probably my best book to date. So nice cover here, good quality. And then Excellent photos.
Yeah, awesome. We need those pictures so I can send them over to Bay Photo. If you could send them to Jared, we'll get them off to them.
If you want to just send some to support at Silber Studios or
There you
Jared
go.
at Silber Studios, whichever works for you, Andrew. And yeah, glad that you love the book. And if you guys want to get your own book, remember to you can use Risaka. Okay, so that's how you pronounce it.
Risaka.
Andrew says. So yeah, and like I said in the comments of that, I did Civil War reenactments when I was very young.
Hmm.
So it's fun to see people doing that. And
Cool.
I just put again our code for 25% off your first Bay Photo order. If you want to use that and get your own albums or whatever you want, or use the special deals that we advertised at the beginning. So.
And when you send that over, if you don't mind, put a little paragraph or so, kind of your own testimonial. I'd love to send that along to them. I'm going to catch a couple of these comments. Christopher said, yeah, you could use the clone tool to eliminate the brown leaves and make everything uniformly green. True enough. And then David asked, do you like stage photos or candids? I don't really do stage photos, really. I mean, I will tell people to move here, look that way, do that. I mean, it's not really staged, but I guess you could say directed. Bob Holmes will certainly direct his subject, and I will do that too. Mark, look this way, or look that way, or hold this candle. You can, again, you'll see that in the class. You guys should definitely get that. Okay, well, that's it for today. Anything else, Jared? Have I missed anything?
Nope. We got somebody in the chat says what you say makes me want to start taking photos right away. And
love
we've
it.
got a special deal that we're offering people
What is that deal?
that can help them. We're gonna get them the free ebook, I believe, right?
Yes, that's right. And Sue is listening to Create on Audible. I love it. It's not my voice, but the artist got in touch with me. It was actually kind of cool. In the middle of the narration, he sent me an email. Mark, I'm really enjoying this book, and especially this part here. So it was kind of cool. I have gotten to know, or I have emailed back and forth with the voice artists that do this. So are we giving away, I forget, what are we doing here? Are we giving away?
Yeah, we're giving away a free ebook. It's your Cycle of Creativity ebook. And then when they get it, they get a chance to get your visualization course for
Excellent.
a special price.
Nice.
And that's a great way to begin if you're really excited right now. Like if this talk has made you want to go out and take photos, that visualization course is a huge help.
And don't forget to buy the actual physical book. I'm a physical book person, as you can see. On my wish list, I always put a list together in Amazon. It's always loaded with books. Not everybody buys them for me, so I end up buying them for myself. But I'm a big believer in physical books. Why? Because I do things, I make notes in the margin, I highlight things, and I can't do that with it. I don't know, maybe you can do it in Kindle, but I can't. But get my book, okay, please. That'll really help me a lot because, number one, you'll benefit from it, which is the most important reason. But also it helps tell the world. I really believe in this book, and I want your help. I need your help to get it out to the world. So you can, you put a link there. Good.
Yep.
So on Amazon, yeah, go get it. Go get it, okay? Come on. For
and
yourself.
It's a great gift, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, you already have a copy. Get it for a friend. Give it to a friend. They're gonna love it. And I want to hear your stories about how you've used the book as well. Okay.
And then another great idea is if you know people who are going to be going to college soon, maybe some high school seniors or juniors, or they're already in college, because in it there's a lot of really good time management. So yeah. I definitely wish I had a book like Create when I was going into college. Even though I was going in a creative field, it would have
Yeah.
been super helpful to have some of those tools. So definitely recommend.
And you're right, we should translate this book, and I need to get back on my publisher about that. We had talked about it, and absolutely. Spanish for sure, because so much of the world speaks Spanish. I think we should definitely get that going right away. All right, well, you guys, so have a very creative day. And if you haven't done so already, look at my green screen there. Make sure you subscribe and enable the bell. And let your friends know what we're doing here on AYP. Bring them on over. Tell them about it. We need you guys to help us spread the word, okay? And follow me on Instagram, Marc Silber. Boom, right there. See that? Because we have a lot of reels and a lot of stuff going on all the time. And that serves as a way to stay connected in between. I answer every one of my messages, so if you message me, I'll answer you. Leave your comments, and thank you guys. Let me hear how you got inspired. I'd love to hear back from you. And last but not least, remember to get out and capture your own images of life. Okay, take care of you guys. Off, finish, and